Hello everyone and welcome to this video. For the longest time, I've been wanting to share the thoughts I'm about to share with you, and I'm very grateful that I'm gonna do it. This is a series of thoughts I call um, Structure My Life, or how do we structure our lives, and why it may be a good thing to structure our lives. For a very long time in my career, I practiced engineering as a professional. I taught engineering, even did research in an attempt to understand the fundamentals and concepts of how important things in our lives work, like buildings and structures. And if we look at something like a building or a bridge, it is serving a very important function in our lives. It provides, if it's a building, it provides shelter. If it's a bridge, it helps us across an otherwise would be a very dangerous crossing to cross in a reliable way to the point these structures become invisible. When we enter a building, we don't think of, oh, this is a structured building. Or when we cross a bridge, normally we don't think, oh, we're now almost like floating in midair. We are supported by a bridge. And I think from my experience, a lot of the concepts that enables us and our society and engineers build reliable structures is very highly applicable to our lives. In a sense, we can structure our lives, we can structure organizations, we can structure communities. And when I first had this thought that all the effort and all the knowledge in structuring structures and studying engineering is somehow transferable to daily lives, I thought, well, the laws of human interactions are going to be very different from materials and construction buildings interactions. But the more I think about it, the more I realize there is a significant overlap. And that's why I'm very excited to share these concepts that I think can help us significantly improve our lives. So here's the reason why we can benefit from a robust structure in our day, in our relationship with others, in our organizations and communities. Um, it took me a while to develop this understanding and this lens of looking at the world. I think a good life lived is on the edge, on a balance between order and chaos. Too much order is very limiting, is sometimes boring, very predictable, but at the same time, it's safe. Maybe predictable is a good thing. You can expect what to happen, but you don't want absolute order. You don't want too much order. On the other side, too much chaos is overwhelming. Too much chaos is dangerous. Could be life-threatening. But potential lays in chaos. The things we don't have is out there in the unknown, in the chaos of the world. And this is also the analogy of like the comfort zone. Maybe you created some structure, some predictability, it becomes comfortable. So if you want to grow, you need to step out of structure, step out of order, step out of your comfort zone, and gradually explore the unknown, the unpredictable. So if this is a good roadmap to fulfillment in life is to gradually step in unknown territory and make order out of it and make it part of what you're comfortable doing. You're expanding your skills, your world, you're growing. The line between what you're comfortable with and what's new to you is moving, is growing. So, what is actually happening at that interface? I became very attracted to this idea and wanted to know the mechanics of it. So, how do you actually make order out of chaos? How do you hit the ground that has never been touched before and make a structure on it and make order out of it? And this is where I found engineering concepts highly applicable because, in a very literal sense, this is what happens when you decide to build a new building, maybe somewhere remote, to the point that actually you will struggle getting there because there are no roads. So you need to build a road, level the site, and do a bunch of activities and steps that will help you transform the potential of um, a piece of land and a new landscape that has never been touched before into something useful that we can enjoy and we can visit and we can have memories there. So the ideas I want to share with you are how do engineers do it and how this is applicable to our lives, and we can steal these concepts and apply them to our lives. So, if we can just clarify or agree on this purpose that it's a good thing to have structure, then I can start explaining and sharing with you how to make structures. I find the laws and the fundamental concepts are universal, highly applicable in different domains. If you want to build a structure, if you want to make order, if you want to organize life, community, organization, or build a building, there is significant overlap. So if we're gonna assume that it's a good thing to find the balance in our lives between potential and doing the work to make order and organizing things. So the question I'm trying to ask now is what is the mechanics? How do we actually make order out of the absolute potential? So I'm taking this from looking at it as a project in like construction, in engineering. Um, but let's think of it as let's say what I look at my life. If I want to have um, a structure and some sort of like reliable plan to live day to day and have a vision to follow. So let me go through quickly the analogy I'm trying to make. I'm trying to make the case that building a building is going to have some really transferable skills or concepts that we can apply to building a successful life. So, why do we want to go there? Why do we want to look at buildings for inspiration? I personally find very tall building super inspiring. Like I can be standing on ground level and looking at how tall a structure is and wonder how is that possible? How do you build something that high? And if that was not enough, you can actually go inside, take an elevator, and go all the way to the top if they have like an observation uh, level or something like that, and have a totally different perspective on the city or on the view. And I find that in itself a remarkable achievement. Like if you can if you can build something that tall, maybe you can build a life that is that fulfilling, or build an organization that is that influential. And learning how these tall buildings is built, in my experience, can guide us to how we can build meaningful things in life. So, what I can share with you is how do um, these tall buildings, how do they get built? So, the first thing that needs to happen, again, this is applicable to our life, I think is a purpose. The building needs a purpose in order to start working on it or building it or manifesting the reality of it. It is very difficult to start um, piling some rubble, not sure what purpose it's going to serve, and then accidentally it turns into a house, or it turns into a hospital, or it turns into a very tall building. This purpose needs to be actually the very first decision to be made. And it's not an easy question. Like, if we're going to apply to this our lives, what is the purpose of my life? Um, Luckily, this process is like a cycle. You can start with a vision, with a purpose. This is what I would like to achieve, and go through all the steps. And then eventually, you can go back and check, okay, am I serving my purpose? Is what I came up with working, or do I need to update, upgrade, do more work, do some maintenance, and keep following the journey of living a fulfilling life and pursuing something meaningful. So, this is step number one. You need to think, same as engineers or construction needs to decide basically, is this structure a hospital? Is it a residential building? Is it an office space? Is it a mall? That purpose comes first before ever touching the ground, start excavation, or even designing, making some detailed decisions on what goes into the building. Having said that, the concepts are not going to change much. It's just, in order for your project to be successful, you need to start with the purpose. And I think in order for a life to be purposeful and meaningful, it needs to have a purpose. So I think of my um, purpose. I think it changed. It changed from stage to stage. Um, Earlier in my life, I thought my purpose is like to learn the concepts of engineering and maybe be a good engineer and care for my clients and do good work. And then the phase researching, understand the concepts, try to solve a problem that would benefit the professionals and the community. In teaching, I think of helping my students start a rewarding career and transfer and share with them as much as I can from what I've learned. And eventually, things like this, sharing what I want to say and what I want to, what I think can help others as it helped me, share it with you. So, what happens after you decide on a purpose? Then you will need to move to the next step, and it's going to be having a plan. So, I think of a purpose like a North Star. So, I'm going to be heading in this way. But what is going to be the plan? How do I achieve this vision? So if the the building team, the project team, decided that the purpose is going to be a tall building. Part of it office space, part of it residential. So what they need to do next is have a plan, understand what constitutes a successful, safe, robust structure, and then how do we achieve that? So in our lives, we might think, all right, I want to have a successful career and I want to have a loving family, I want to start a family, and I want to have good friends that want what's best for me and that I can be honest with. And I want to have hobbies. I want to have something that fills my spirituality and have a balanced life that has different aspects of it. Because it's going to be very difficult to support a well lived life on just like one or two aspects of these. Usually we need at least three. I think of this concept again from statics, from engineering, from physics. If something is stable, it's very difficult to stabilize it on just two supports. But usually three will triangulate the weight and stabilize the life or stabilize our um, structure, and you can grow and you can move ahead in life on solid foundation. And I think of these terms like foundations, for example, is a term that is widely used in construction and engineering. And when we describe something, a life that has a strong foundation, literally in buildings, that what it means is the interface, the interaction between order or the man-made structure with nature, with the universe. That's what a foundation is. It's the building where the building touches the ground, touches the soil. The soil is natural, the soil is nature, the soil is part of the universe. The structure is made out of mostly man-made, shaped, and engineered pieces that builds the house where we live, or like the building where it becomes achievable to be tall and serve a purpose. So the plan is depends on the purpose, but there are basically very um, common concepts for a plan. So I like as a strategy when putting when planning together, like assembling together a plan, to have the least amount of material, the least amount of effort, the least amount of time to achieve the purpose. So there are many ways to get from point A to point B, but usually the most effective one is going to be the straight line. This might work in a virtual world, but once you put the straight line in nature, in reality, you will realize there are obstacles. There might be a steep hill in the way. There might be a canyon. There might be a river. So then you start to adapt to reality. So you might need to maneuver the obstacles. So never lose sight of the purpose of the North Star. But a good plan will have the minimum amount of effort and minimum amount of materials to achieve the goal. And this can be achieved in many ways. The most effective way that I find is looking for guidance from experts, looking for guidance from like a coach or a consultant or someone that has successfully achieved this before, and then you're standing on the shoulders of giants. You're not reinventing the wheel. You're not spending your entire life to learn something from scratch. I think it's way more effective to spend your entire life learning from the mistakes of others, combining the expertise and skills of others, and putting it towards something meaningful, towards a purpose. And then you can achieve remarkable things. So let's say you manage to put together a plan. And as I said, all these things, it's like a cycle. You go through it and then detach, reassess, reevaluate, and go through the cycle again. So it's not the end of the world if you pick one purpose. You can revisit it in the cycle. It's not the end of the world if you say this is the plan. It's not going to be like um, you're going to be able to tweak it. It's very natural in the process to update the plan, but it's very important to have one. Without it, I don't think it's possible to accidentally just achieve something great. Um, so a plan is important. Once you have the plan, the next step is going to be um, you're going to need leadership. The plan says on paper, in theory, if you want to go from plan A to plan B, this is what you need to do. And the plan also can highlight obstacles, challenges, and how to navigate and maneuver around them. So it gives you theoretically a possible way of achieving your goal. Now, it does not achieve your goal. It's just a plan. So what do you need next? You need leadership. So I find leadership is one of the most important skills, very effective in our lives. Um, it's not necessarily the skill that you start with. In my experience, I had to start somewhere. So I thought a good skill would be like to do correct number crunching analysis calculations for forces and loads and buildings. So I don't think there is like a right way or wrong way to do it. You need to start somewhere. And eventually, I believe most roads will lead you to understand that eventually we will need strong leadership. The reason is, as individuals, we're not going to go far and achieve much unless we work together. And just like a project, a very tall building might have thousands of workers. So not just one person can go ahead and build this huge project. You need to work with people. And in order to work with people, we need someone to lead us. We need someone that deeply understands the plan and believes in it, believes that applying this plan will achieve the goal. We'll also need someone that is a very effective communicator. As individuals, we all have our needs and we all have our point of view. So we might be exerting pressure and force against each other, bumping heads. And I think a good leader just aligns the effort of the group, of the team, to put the pressure, to put the force in the direction towards achieving the plan, which takes us to the purpose of why we're doing this. And I personally find this is very meaningful because most of us have this urge to do something meaningful with our lives, to find the meaning of why we wake up in the morning every day. So if we have a competent leader that understands the vision, can communicate to us why this is a good thing, what we're doing, and how this will enable us to achieve something bigger than ourselves, gives all the individuals in the team a very strong sense of purpose and belonging, and they are part of something bigger, and they're achieving something good, and they're leaving something valuable behind. So, do we need to be do we need to develop leadership skills, or do we always leave it to someone else? I think that's a age-old question. Are leaders born, or can you train yourself to be a leader? I think the question is like, what do we need leadership for? And I think the answer, we need it for everything. Even to wake up in the morning and have a successful day, we need to lead ourselves. So I came across a lot of work that describes successful leadership, and I like some of the definitions and theories and explanations I like the most. Talks about what a successful leader needs to have. They need to have a good understanding of, they can develop, they can understand abstract ideas and then simplify it to share it with the team. So it's not the other way around. It's not like to sound smart or to detach yourself from everyone else. I think it's the opposite. I'm going to use my understanding and my skills in breaking down difficult, sophisticated concepts into applicable, simple steps. You also need truth, integrity. You also need to be resilient to difficulties. And we can talk more about this, but I think it's one of the, as I said, most important skills that we can at least be aware of, so that we can recognize good leaders and that we can lead ourselves, lead our families, lead our team. And I think the most important thing is to lead our lives. This is a deeper topic. Do you feel like your life is being scripted for you, written for you? Or do you like the idea of being the author of the chapters of your life? But it's very scary to start thinking like this, that, oh, I'm going to take the initiative and I'm going to lead the life that I want, because it needs effort and it needs understanding of how big, meaningful projects are built. And this is part of why I'm doing this. I'm trying to share the steps that big projects makes big projects achievable. And I think there's a lot we can learn to apply in our lives. So what I said so far is, first step, purpose. Second step, a plan. Third step, leadership to apply the plan. Um, you also need to have regular checkpoints where you pause and assess. So you can call this management. You need to manage your actual progress with the original plan. This is where the loop, the feedback goes. So you can't just like keep on action, 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 action all the time, because it's inevitable that you will deviate from the plan. So you don't want to keep on deviating without noticing that, oh, we're actually not applying the plan, we're doing something completely different. You don't want to go too far. So every now and then you need to pause and check, okay, are we achieving the results that we thought we would have by now? Big projects have something about project management that boils this down to like an art. You need to know break down the plan into steps, how much effort, time, and money each step will take, and then have on a daily basis of the project measure, have we spent that much money? Have we accomplished that much part of the building? Are we on track, on budget, or way behind? And then monitoring that is excellent feedback to the cycle of the project. And it's going to be important for us as well. For leadership, leadership now can take action to correct the path, to lead the team. The project is not building itself. The project needs people. And as I mentioned, we all have our individual needs and individual perspectives. And unless we are working together, it's going to be very difficult to achieve something remarkable. So this is where management comes. You need to manage your plan, your dream. So I personally sometimes put too much pressure on myself when I feel like, oh, I'm not achieving what I want. I'm getting too far. This could cause panic. So being stressed out and feeling this pressure is not helpful. So I try as much as I can to go back to the plan, to go back to the original, the second step. Okay, I have this purpose. I think this is a good plan to get there. I don't feel I'm getting where I want to. So I try to kind of put some feedback and always think of like an actionable step, small enough that I can do it. If it's a big step, then it puts the pressure like, oh, that's too much. I don't know if I can achieve that. So a good solution would be like break down the step into small increments, achievable steps. Um, and we can talk about these concepts as well. I just want to go to the finish the cycle, and then we can take apart pieces of it and discuss it and elaborate it more. Um, think of what happens after a project is complete, and you have the keys, to the building. What happens? Do you move in if it was like an apartment building or a house or something that is going to provide shelter and space for people to create memories and have guests and raise families? The building is very important, is very meaningful. It enables humans to do wonderful stuff. But is it going to sustain itself? Is it going to take care of itself? It needs maintenance. It needs maintenance. So after achieving your goal, you need to look at, all right, am I serving the purpose? Do I need to learn something new? Do I need to acquire a new skill? One of the aspects of my life is now lacking, so I need to pay attention to this. So it's not something that you achieve it and then you let go. I think it's the nature of our lives that in order to maintain the order that we've created, we need maintenance. Otherwise, nature will reclaim it back. That's what happens if you abandon a building. If you abandon a building long enough, eventually nature will claim it back. You'll find trees and all sorts of things inside of it. So at this point, now we are almost finishing the cycle. Like we had a purpose, plan, leadership to apply the plan, management to manage the changes and make sure we are on track, maintenance to maintain the project. sometimes we realize that we want to, that purpose does not perfectly fit what we are trying to achieve, and we need to tweak the purpose. We need to make some changes in the building. At home, we need to remove a wall to create a bigger living room. So now that project is risky because if you start removing walls in a building, you risk demolishing the entire structure. The whole thing can come collapse, and you not only damage your living space, but you will hurt your neighbors as well in doing it. So big structural changes, they need to be done carefully. If you're doing an upgrade, if you're changing career, you can just like go and quit. You need to go through the cycle. Why do I need to quit? The purpose. And then the plan. How am I going to quit? When? What am I going to do in the transition? Leadership. Lead yourself, lead your family through the transition. Management. All right, I'm acquiring the skill that I need for the new job. I'm looking for the new job. I'm doing interviews and monitor. Am I getting closer or am I getting in trouble? And you hopefully find why you did that in the first place and continue the journey. It's a lifestyle. I find it's not that I achieve something and it's uh, hands free. It's gonna take care of itself, and it's an important part to understand that almost everything you need to put regular effort into it to maintain. Um, and when this process is going smoothly, when you're transitioning from one stage to another and from one cycle to another, I find that it's going to be easier to hit what we can call flow. Now, we understand that it's a lifestyle. I'm not working towards one specific goal that I'm so attached to. I am on the journey of a cycle. It has rules. I'm more and more educating myself and becoming more familiar with these rules. I constantly focus on my purpose, and I find a lot of guidance from it to go through the different stages and hopefully live a life that is worth living. And with that, I reach what I wanted to talk about today, and I will see you next time. See ya.